Hey, Life Uncloseted family. It is time once again for an Uncloseted Riff and Rant. And today I'm not going to be riffing. Well, maybe I'm going to be riffing, but I'm not going to be ranting because I was really inspired by a conversation I had this week with one of my clients. And we've been working on career change and moving things forward and getting him in his path, finding his purpose. And as we were talking, this idea came into my mind. The idea was for him to create his biggest vision and to do it in the moment, on the fly. And I thought this would be a really great way to talk to my listeners, my audience, who in their own ways are trying to uncloset their life, to make their bold move, to live life closer to their own terms. So I'm going to invite you today to take this little moment. We're just going to do this for a couple of minutes and imagine your biggest dream. Maybe you're trying to leave a job you can't stand. Maybe you've found that the relationship you're in isn't working, but you want to enhance it. Or maybe you're finding that the relationship isn't worth staying in. But what I want you to do is I want you to start to look at that vision, that bold thing you say you're going to do, and to look at it from the perspective of, if you could do something today, what would you do to start that direction? So the first thing I want you to do is to ask yourself, what would you need? Truly, what do you need? Do you need money? Do you need some time? Do you need to sit down and think about all the pieces of the puzzle? And then as you start to think through that, I want you to ask yourself, who would you ask help from? List everybody. It might be a therapist. It might be a coach. It might be your best friend. It might be someone that you don't know really well, but you know they've gone through the same thing. So you start to list all those people out. Now, there may be some things you might have to do, like where would you go? Can you do what you want to do living where you are? Do you need to go take a trip to make it happen? Do you need to get out of the country? Do you just need to go spend some time alone somewhere? But where would you go? Is there a situational space? Is there an environment you need to get in to make this happen? What are the fears? What are the fears you have to face? What are the answers you need to get? And I want you to keep thinking about this big picture of this thing is going to be done. You're actually going to be able to do it. Keep thinking big. Don't lose that. And now I want you to start to say, okay, I need this much money. I need these tools. I need to go to these courses. I need to do whatever it is you need to do. Okay, just keep going. We're not stopping with this. And then I want you to think about what you're going to feel with your body, in your mind, in your emotions, in your feelings, all that stuff when this thing is done. Go ahead, step right into it. Just dive into this at the deepest level that you can. And now that thing has happened. You've left that job. You have sold everything to go travel the world. You've gone to that space where you're traveling someplace you've always wanted to be. You've found that person that you really want to make a life with. You accomplished that task. Just be in that moment. And now I want you to think about how overwhelming you might feel. Are you feeling overwhelmed because it's so big? Or are you feeling overwhelmed because you're making it so big? So now I want you to go back and I want you to think about where we started, but I want you to also think about, what could you do just a little step in the right direction? What could you do if you quit making it so big and you said, this is what I'm doing? I'm going to do this one thing and it's going to take me one step closer. Because you see, as I worked with my client, I had a big, bold vision of things he wanted to do and places he would have to travel and things he would have to have and all this sort of stuff. But when we came back to the very beginning, I said, okay, so what if you stayed right where you were and you used your own environment and your own city and the tools that you have available to you right now, what could you do? And he came up with 3 solid things he could do. Because you see, what I know, because I do this too, is when I make the vision so big, it scares me, I get afraid, and I freeze. But when I look at the vision, how much it'll excite me and how much I will get from it and what I will feel and all these great things, and I've got all these things I know I can do, and I look at it from the perspective of what I can do and where I can go and the things I'm going to get and how I'm going to make it get done, and I just keep looking at it from that perspective and believing it can happen, then I start to uncloset myself from the false beliefs that it'll never happen, especially when I step back and go, okay, I put everything out there that I can think of. Now, where do I get to start? Not where do I have to start? And oh my God, how do I even start? Where do I get the start that is one small step in the right direction? So to make your bold move, have a bold vision and believe boldly that you can make it happen. But the biggest bold step you can do is to take one tiny step towards that bold move of living your life on your own terms. So that's it for this week, everyone. And I have a little announcement to make that in the next few weeks, the rants and the riffs will be fewer and far between. I'm starting a brand new podcast in March. It's going to be a podcast targeted towards men over 40. It's called 40 Plus, Real Men, Real Talk. And it's going to be taking the time slot of this podcast that comes out on Fridays. And the reason I'm doing this is because I felt so pulled to work with men again. I've always worked with men in the coming out world. And it's not that I don't want to work with women, because I love women too. And there'll be some things that I'm sure, gals, if you want to listen to this along with your guys or recommend it to some guys, you'll learn some stuff too. But this is going to be a very short format podcast geared towards men over 40, where we have real talk with real guys. Sometimes it'll just be me. And I'm doing this because I felt pulled to do this work. You'll still get some rants and riffs on some of the other shows that we do. I'll tag some on to the very end of some of the shows that we do. And we'll continue to do the beautiful interviews with some of my favorite people in the world. But I just wanted you to know, I'm not abandoning the rants and riffs. They'll just be a little fewer and farther in between. Maybe they'll be every other week. Maybe they'll be sometimes when I just feel like popping on, I'll record one and I'll throw it to you. But I wanted to prepare you that starting in March, I'm not definitive which date, these will actually go away. But thank you for listening and continuing to be my Life Uncloseted listeners. And have a great weekend, everybody. And go do something bold in a very small way if you need to move your own personal vision forward. Take care.